Namaste, and welcome to the second module in your 12-part journey. So, in this module, I want to introduce you to a deeper take on what Vedanta is and what Swami Vivekananda essentially was talking about. And the whole teaching that he was trying to relay was that every single human being has a spark of divinity in them. You, me, we're all divine. We just don't know it because that divinity is cloaked in ego, in mind, in distractions of the brain, and we are always stuck in a disconnection from that divine spark inside us. And he said that the whole teaching of Vedanta is to realize that that divine spark inside you is the same as the wisdom and intelligence behind the whole universe. What Vedanta calls Brahman. Brahman. Brahman means the energy of consciousness behind everything. Now just imagine we're living in an intelligent universe. And in that intelligent universe, we think we are separate from that universe.
My ideal indeed can be put into a few words, and that is to preach unto mankind their divinity and how to make it manifest in every movement of life. Each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. The essence of Vedanta is that there is but one being, and that every soul is that being in full, not a part of that being.
We think we're this body, we think we're this name, this form, this person. But really what Vedanta teaches is that inside you is a spark of that same divinity, and it is that divine being. So that spark inside you they call the Atma, the self, the soul, Atma. Now, if that Atma and Brahman are the same, and Vedanta clearly says, Tat Vam Asi, as Swami Vivekananda says here.
The ideal of Vedanta is to know man as he really is. The solution of the Vedanta is that we are not bound. We are free already. Not only so, but to say or to think that we are bound is dangerous. Do not say it, do not think it. This is summed up in the Vedanta philosophy by the celebrated aphorism, Tattvamasi, thou art that.
What he's saying is that basically you have to realize this aphorism, that when you realize your true nature as the power behind the entire universe, you achieve complete freedom. So the promise of Vedanta is freedom. What does that mean? When you say Tat Vam Asi, you are that. So you are an unlimited being of consciousness that pervades the entire universe. Little you is the same as that giant mind behind everything, Brahman.
Every soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. Take up one idea. Make that one idea your life. Think of it. Dream of it. Live on that idea. Let the brain, muscles, nerves, every part of your body be full of that idea, and just leave every other idea alone. This is the way to success.
He wanted everyone to become fearless in a world filled with fear and oppression.
The whole secret of existence is to have no fear. Never fear what will become of you. Depend on no one. Only the moment you reject all help are you freed.
He spoke of ultimate freedom and being true to oneself.
The moment I've realized God sitting in the temple of every human body, the moment I stand in reverence before every human being and see God in him, that moment, I'm free from bondage. Everything that binds vanishes and I am free.
So Tattvam Asi means you, little you, have cloaked yourself in an illusion or a drama that you are separate from that beautiful divine source. That cloaking, that illusion, that drama of this world we call Maya. Maya is sometimes translated as illusion, but what it really means is that we're all a construct of mind. So, what is the purpose of Vedanta? The purpose of Vedanta is to free you from this bind, free you from this feeling that you are a limited person with a limited story, stuck in this body, stuck in this gender, stuck in this color, stuck in whatever story you are stuck with, and liberate yourself from that story. That is the whole purpose of Vedanta. And then Swami Vivekananda goes on to say, well, how do I do that? How do I free myself from that story, free myself from those shackles, those bonds that tie me? He says that, look, the ancients gave us 4 ways of doing it. In the Bhagavad Gita is clearly outlined, and this is also outlined in the Upanishads before that there are 4 yogas you can do. And yoga means to yoke back to that source from which I've come from. Yoga is from the same principle as yoke, which is that to free me back to where I'm from. So just imagine, if I'm in the body and I think I am Raja, just sitting here with all my problems, all my issues, all my worries, all my pains, all the slavery I have to do, all the work I have to do, everything about me, yoga takes me back to who I really am, connects me back to the source. Now, yoga has been misinterpreted as exercise, as breathing, as all these things, but yoga means, by whatever means possible, reconnect yourself back to that source that you're from. So then in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Upanishads, it explains what yoga is. So the Hatha Yoga, Pradipika talks about yoga as what? Freeing of the mind. Let's listen to Swamiji talk about it.
Yoga is controlling the senses, will and mind. The benefit of its study is that we learn to control instead of being controlled. All the powers in the universe are already ours. It is we who have put our hands before our eyes and cry that it is dark. The moment I have realized God sitting in the temple of every human body, the moment I stand in reverence before every human being and see God in him, that moment, I'm free from bondage. Everything that binds vanishes and I am free.
He brings in this paradigm of the 4 yogas. What are the 4 yogas? Bhakti yoga, the yoga of devotion for a personal God. So all the standard practices you are familiar with in Abrahamic religions and Hindu theistic traditions, like prayer, worship, those kinds of things. Taking the name of the Lord. Jnana yoga, the yoga of knowledge. This is, now one thing that's important to keep in mind is Swami Vivekananda, in different contexts, he defines these yogas either in a narrower Hindu way or in a much broader way. So in this context, I'm talking about his broader definitions of yoga because that's what's relevant in the context of the harmony of religions. So Jnana yoga here means any spiritual path or practice that emphasizes the use of the intellect in some way, whether it's about discriminating between what's real and unreal, what's permanent and impermanent, what's meaningful and what's not meaningful, or anything else, reading the scriptures and thinking about them deeply, reflecting on them. I would say it's more of an intellectual path. Contemplative falls under Raja Yoga, I would say. Raja Yoga is basically any spiritual path that emphasizes concentration, meditation, mysticism, these kinds of things. And so that's why I would say that contemplation sort of falls, depending on how you define contemplation. And last but not least, Karma Yoga, the yoga of selfless action, which means you continue to do the work that you're doing in the world, as long as it's ethical and not inimical to your spiritual life, but you change the attitude with which you do it. So instead of doing it to aggrandize your own ego, you do it as a way of making spiritual progress by taking the ego out of what you're doing. So that's Karma Yoga. Now, what he does, and this is his genius, instead of mapping the world religions onto the 3 stages of Vedanta as he did in this previous period, he now maps the world religions onto one of these 4 yogas. And he says that each religion corresponds to one or more of these 4 yogas. And then he adds another very important claim. He says, through any of these yogas, you can attain the highest goal. And there's no higher and lower. It's not that one yoga is higher than the others or leads somehow more directly to the same goal.
So here you are. You can start by simply acting in the world as if you see divinity in everything. And Swami Vivekananda says clearly, the moment you see divinity in everyone around you, you will become divine by yourself. How do you see everyone as divine? This is what we call karma yoga. That means every action I do, every work I do, the work I do, the way I serve other human beings, the way I serve my work, my labor, my effort, every word I say, every word I speak should exude that. That's karma yoga. We're going to look at that in the next class. Then we go to what is called Bhakti yoga. And Bhakti yoga is the path of devotion, the path of surrender, the path of saying, I am separate from the divine in my mind, but I can devote myself to a divine idea, whether it's a god or a goddess or a saint or a guru or a teacher or a Jesus or Allah, whatever I want to connect myself to. That bhakti, that sharing of that devotion and surrender to that grace that window I'm looking at represents is bhakti. Then the third one is Raja Yoga. I can do it by willpower, by breathing, by pranayama, by doing the 8-fold path of yoga, the Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali Sutras. I can do it by that. And then the final one is the most important one, called Jnana Yoga. That means I can do that by pure contemplation, meditation, and reflection. Just realizing that I am truly divine.
So meditation, he taught meditation. That was literally the first thing he taught, technique. He taught devotion, even ritual, bhakti. And then he turned karma itself into a ritualistic practice. All the work that we do, not just in the temple, but in the office, in the farmyard, wherever you do work, that can be done as a worship of the divine, which is always everywhere present. Karma Yoga and Raja Yoga were the 2 books which were very popular and which were published here in the Vedanta Society of New York during Swami Vivekananda's own lifetime.
Vedanta is to realize your true divinity by any of these means possible. And you can use any of them or a combination of them. In 24 hours, you can do any of the 4. And all life then becomes yoga. So I'm going to look at that with you over the next few sessions, and let's take it from there. Namaste. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru.